Hello. This video is the second part to this video. They will both be combined next week. If you want to hear the basics of the Combine and about civil protection, Combine grunts, and Combine soldiers, go to that video. With that being said, the Suppressor is quite the oddity among Combine units. It is one which has deviated the farthest from the transhuman template that the Combine are generally based upon. As for why this is, I'm not too sure. We see that it retains functions of a gas mask, and presumably the eyes being rooted in the mask itself. In fact, this unit may be a direct upgrade to the Combine grunt, as it has much of the same clothing style, even having the same gloves. I assume that if the new mask style isn't attributed to any kind of unique function, it's simply in place for the fear factor, as the narrower eyes and tapered snout make it a little more imposing. It also shares a resemblance with the sequel trilogy Star Wars alien designs, which I thought was funny. Moving down from the head, its torso is padded with a variety of armor strapped to its body, many of them being marked with Combine insignia. Its lower torso has this attachment here, which I believe to be an ammo pack. Now, suppressors seem to be trained or coded to fire in a particular stance every time. Their left foot forward, right foot back, and their shoulder facing the enemy. In a very interesting move, the Combine made use of this stance by placing a reloader on its stomach that aligns perfectly to this stance. This plays into the theme of ergonomics not really being a factor in Combine transhumans. With real soldiers, it would probably be quite unwieldy to have to press the gun to your stomach when you reload, as well as having to have the same stance every time you shoot, but with Overwatch, it's as easy as just doing those things. Another part of the suppressor, which shows that it must always have this stance, is a piece of armor particularly on its left leg. When I first loaded up the model, I thought it was a glitch, an error, but it seems that this was also put in place due to it shooting in this same stance. An interesting note about the suppressors is that in Combine terminology, they are known as APF units, or the Antibody Protection Force. This is quite an interesting name, as it seems to give some insight on the way that the Combine quote-unquote perceive fights. They see them as some kind of surgical or medical procedure. This can be noticed most when hearing Overwatch's voice, in which case it uses terminology like amputate, isolate, cauterize, and just all of these. We also find terminology like this in code for different weapons. Manhacks are called viscerators, and sentry guns are known as sterilizers. In the case of the Antibody Protection Force, well, its name also reflects its job. It suppresses antigens, except in this case, anti-citizens is what they're suppressing. Overall, the suppressor is a marvel of Combine transhuman engineering, and similar can be said for our next unit, the Combine Ordinal. Now, the Combine Ordinal, as its name suggests, gives out orders to its fellow Combine. It's often referred to as a Combine captain for this reason. It, again, has multiple different armor pads, about the same amount as the Combine soldier. In fact, I actually think that the Ordinal ranks above or equally with the Combine soldiers. They may serve to train Combine grunts in combat outside of a military setting, possibly to get them to the level of soldiers so that they can be promoted in Overwatch's ranks. As a result of their status as the squad's main tactician, Ordinals have the most intense vocoding, most obviously to conceal their tactics effectively. Now, the Combine Ordinal is a pretty standard transhuman format, essentially being the Combine soldier with a little bit of the grunt style mixed in. So, something I would like to analyze regarding the Ordinal is this animation by the Parry God called Protectors. It's just about the most lore-accurate animation regarding the Combine that I've ever seen, and I can't stop rewatching it. I mean, it literally shows a scanner that is partially activated, presumably after some kind of fight, broadcasting penal code 647E.
Pick up 647E reading. Copy. Possible 647E. Alert tag units.
Which is a penal code for workers who are loitering or off the job. Later on in the animation, a squad of 2 grunts, an APF, and an Ordinal move in, and are partially ambushed with one of the grunts being shot. Immediately, the APF moves in to suppress the rebel so that the Ordinal and grunt can move in. The APF, however, is hit by a shotgun. he notifies the Ordinal that his body pack is holding, which seems to be some kind of terminology for one's armor being damaged. As a result of this, the Ordinal immediately takes action by sending a Viscerator to distract the rebels in place of the Suppressor, something which the Ordinal is actually capable of in-game. The rebels deal with the manhack quickly, but in doing so, one of them mistakenly compromises their position. With that, they all start falling and the squad moves in and finishes off the rest of them. While not exactly canon, this animation is still an amazing example of how the Ordinal utilizes tactics and can quickly change them if something goes wrong. But what unit fills this role in the military setting? That is to say, who commands the Ordinals and the Combine soldiers when they need to engage in combat against actual paramilitary? Well, to find who fills that role, we turn to the Combine Elite. Now, I don't know that much about the Combine Elite, as it's almost exactly a reskin of the Combine Soldier. However, we do notice that its helmet is, of course, a whole Cyclops, an artificial Cyclops to be exact. Its ears also seem to have special augments that, combined with the red eye, may significantly enhance its senses. Additionally, it has a much larger neck guard and thicker armor, with a special insignia on its chest, one which is the same as the one on the shotgun soldier. As stated by a commenter in the first part, this may show that the Combine shotgun soldiers and elites share a role, in terms of being needed in situations where high force is necessary. Between the two, I assume that shotgun soldiers are chosen when there's a need for raw force, and elites chosen when there's a need for that raw force to be precision-based. I know we see Combine snipers at times in Half-Life 2, but I wouldn't be surprised if elites even acted as assassin snipers in a way, when necessary. And speaking of raw amounts of force, there is one final Combine unit that I have neglected to mention. Until now. This unit is the Combine Charger. Now, I didn't put WALLHAMMER here because it was at the top of Combine ranking or anything. I just put it here because it's my favorite Combine unit. In my playthrough of Half-Life Alyx, going up against a WALLHAMMER was one of the most terrifying non-horror experiences I ever had in a video game. It has my favorite voice effect out of all the Combine, and it has the most imposing stature of all of them. As its name under Combine terminology suggests, it serves to be a wall between units like Ordinals and Grunts and hostile combatants, and when necessary, it will be aggressive as well. Again, it's non-canon, but the animation by Perigod called Patient Zero is an amazing example of what makes these units terrifying. Now, the Combine Charger itself is adorned with huge pads of ballistic armor. They're a combination of hard metal armors that are present in the outer shoulders and neck guard, and softer but still robust armor toward its inner shoulders and torso. Interestingly, this unit seems to adopt the same stance as the Suppressor, and with that, its armor has the same design philosophy, with the neck guard being more robust on its left side as it fires with its left foot forward. The same applies to its arms. Its left arm is heavily guarded, and its right arm is thin and unarmored. In combat, the Combine Charger will fill the role of the wall and the hammer. When the wall, it'll fill a similar role as the Suppressor, especially when the Suppressor is not present or dead. It'll attempt to allow other units to flank while it lays on some suppressing fire to keep hostiles in cover. However, if a Suppressor is present, or when the opportunity presents itself, or when it's solo active, it will be utilized as the hammer, rapidly pushing towards the hostile to quickly dispatch them. They use their shotgun to do this, a large weapon that can cause really devastating damage. However, this shotgun is very heavy, and that weight, along with the weight of all their armor, causes them to walk slightly facing upward and very slow. This is their primary weakness, and it also looks kind of funny, and thus they perform better with a Suppressor or with an Ordinal present. Now, all of the Combine that I've talked about have a variety of voice lines, and the Charger in particular has ones that straight up make fun of you. Now, I know the other Half-Life Alyx Combine units have voice lines like this. But the Charger's lines were the first ones I heard in game, and they feel like they have a lot more of an intimidating presence, and they're also kind of funny. Like, he literally makes fun of the player, saying, "Spike's ineffective. Target is unskilled." Like, target is unskilled? Have you seen yourself? You're covered head to toe in armor and you're gonna call me? Overall, this is one of my favorite Combine units of all time. Primarily because I watched these animations by the Perigod, and because my experiences in Half-Life Alyx. They are one of my favorite pieces of Combine engineering by far, and I hope to see more of them in the future Half-Life installments, which it seems like we'll actually be getting some. Finally! And that brings me to the end of this analysis. It proved to be a much longer endeavor than I expected, which is why it's in 2 parts. I'll combine these 2 parts next week as a side to the video that I'm uploading then, so don't worry, I won't just be doing a generic re-upload. I've been meaning to update my take on the Combine Infantry since I made that first Half-Life analysis video, and I hope that I've now done so adequately. With that being said, thanks for watching, and goodbye.